We got another episode of CHGO Sky here, obviously with your host, Stephen Prejean Gardner. Got a handful of topics we getting into, as well as a special guest that's well overdue for his kind of cameo to hop on the pod with me and talk some Sky Hoops. So get to this quick intro. Be right back at you in a minute. Great morning, everybody. And I mean, great morning for everybody. We getting at y'all real early in the day. So we appreciate everybody that is tapping in with us. And obviously, if you get a chance to listen on audio or watch the actual YouTube video recording of it, we appreciate you tapping in either way. As always, make sure you like and subscribe to the video and to the channel. Over here at CHGO Sports, I'm your host here, Stephen Prejean Gardner. As always, appreciate you all making the time to tap in with us. Here with the special guest, though, my man, the one and only Brian Teague, publisher of Chicago State of Mind Sports. If you're not aware, you are aware. I promise you that, because you've consumed and engaged with his content, whether it be on YouTube or on Twitter in particular, whether you did so directly or indirectly. So, Brian, my man, long overdue for the cameo. How you doing, bro?
Man, I appreciate it, man, and thanks for having me on. And, bro, this has been a long time coming, like you said.
It definitely has been, and we're gonna go ahead and start it off by giving some flowers. So a little peek behind the curtain. Me and Brian been obviously removed from it in a physical sense this season for the first time in 5 years, but for 4 of the last 5 years we've been covering the Sky pretty much shoulder to shoulder. Kind of had like a little bit of an introduction moment with one another a couple of years into it, but we were aware of each other, and the respect has always been mutual. So Brian being someone that's consistently been around with the team when there was only a few other people in the media room. So he is not new to this in any capacity. He's very much true to this. And for someone that is ambitious enough to go and do it kind of rogue and do it off of their own accord, very, very ambitious again. Something that most people wouldn't be able to stick with in a consistent manner that you do, not specific to the Sky, but also with the Bears, with U of I, and any other team in between that competes in the sports realm in over here in Illinois. So, Brian, man, appreciate you. I hope you understand. I hope that you receive all of the love that people give you, because it's definitely been increasing, and deservingly so, over the last year or two.
Man, first of all, I appreciate that. And then audience, I just got to tell you, this man is right, man. Like we and him, we were like shoulder to shoulder on that beat. And it's funny because it was for a time there where we kind of filling each other out, right? And the thing about it is, though, we realized, man, me and him, we both were built from that same cloth. And, bro, like you said, that respect is mutual. And I got to give your flowers back, bro. The work that you do with the film breakdown, man, and when you moved out to Phoenix, man, and I saw how that star of yours was rising, I'm like, it's about time somebody put my boy on. You know, so it's one of those things, man, where it's right back at you, bro.
Man, I really appreciate that. It means a lot. Like I said, two hustlers on Twitter, two hustlers in this media space, just getting after it in the ways respective to them. So let's go ahead and get to the episode, my man. We're going to go ahead and start things off, first of all, by mentioning that we are brought to you all today, coming at you live for this episode of CSGO Sky. I want you to visit Sunnyside. Sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day. Only for 21 plus or IL medical card holders. All right, Brian. So obviously we are coming to everyone amidst a kind of underwhelming in terms of the results side of things, an underwhelming losing streak for the Chicago Sky. We're coming specifically following another loss to the Washington Mystics, another game that felt like it was winnable for the Sky. They lost this one 103-86 in DC. Brian, you were able to go to the game in person. You want to kind of give some quick off the top thoughts about that game before we kind of dive into the main topics of today's episode?
Yeah, no, I think thanks for that. I think the biggest thing for me, and I think you probably saw it too from watching that game, is Tyler Marsh. He challenged that team after that Storm loss. Basically, was like, "Hey, I'm looking for people that are willing to compete." And Rachel Banham, you heard what she said, right? It was gross basketball they played in that game, and she was absolutely right there. But what we've seen, not only just the Mystics game, but the Fever game, Stephen, we've seen this team actually has some fight. They actually have some teeth out there for once, right? And my thing is, yes, they are still in the midst of this losing streak, but we saw it against the Fever, and we definitely saw it against Washington, right? They were able to withstand when Washington charged, they answered, right? But the unfortunate part about it is that Washington had to answer every time this guy came back in the game. But the biggest thing that I'm seeing with this team right now, man, is there's no quit in them. It's a very resilient group. And, for all the flack that Tyler Marsh gets on social media and throughout the whole landscape here, are we not talking about the fact that, like, this is probably not a very tenable situation right now? The team is 7-19, and he still has his players out there competing on a night-to-night basis. Like, we got to give him his due there.
100%. 100%. It is. I mentioned it going into the season. I know patience isn't typically something that resonates well with fandom, and especially for Chicago sports, because winning culture just generation after generation. A process does not always kind of suggest winning right away. A process is what the definition of a process is. It's a step-by-step, incremental, day-to-day approach to something that ultimately leads to some sustainability. And that's what they're working through right now. Obviously, like you mentioned, very, very unique context that they're working in, with multiple players of the hierarchy of the team simply not available in terms of their services right now. Just getting Angel Reese back as well for this most recent game against the Mystics. So they're not working with, I won't say it's fair because nothing's fair in sports, but they're not working with a full deck of cards that they were expecting to be working with throughout this season. Naturally, you lose Courtney Vandersloot. That's a significant hit to your team. If you take away the starting point guard and then also take away the starting two guard for this team, who the team invested future assets into to retain her talents, that's a lot to have to work up against, especially against a young, scrappy Mystics team that has an identity that's stamped on the defensive end before anything else on offense. So just some kind of quick hitters on that game from my end. Washington outscored the Sky 52-40 in the paint. That 52 points for the Mystics the 52 points from the Mystics in the paint was the most that the Sky conceded to an opponent this season, and was the third most on the season by the Mystics so far this year. And then the last one in the paint in particular, they went 26 for 41, 63.4%. So those numbers coming to you, most of them at least coming from Sky PR. A couple of them came on my own accord, but yeah, tough sledding in that game, man. Process-wise, it feels like more than anything else, them just not having the bodies that they were hoping to have, they're really kind of shouldering the brunt of a lot of inconsistency because of that.
But I was going to point on one thing, and you obviously you do the breakdown, so you probably already are knowing. But that first quarter of the game, man, when I felt like there were times where the offense kind of stalled and it was a little stagnant, but the rhythm that I thought that they had towards the middle of the quarter to the end of the quarter, I thought that was a positive sign, because they have really struggled with closing quarters lately. And what I saw in that first quarter was like, hey, they're right here in this game with these guys. So my biggest thing is, if we are with the people out here that will allow patience, you can see that there's things there. I mean, to the point you brought up with the injuries, Angel Reese dubbed them the Elite Eight right now because of so many people that they have out right now. So I just think that people just need to be patient. I know it's hard to ask for that when a team is 7-19, but I promise you guys, Steven and I, we're in these rooms, we're there. This team does not struggle for people that are not invested and not willing to put in the work. It'll come.
For sure. And kind of speaking to that Elite Eight that Angel mentioned, we have an addition to the roster news-wise that we want to go ahead and speak to. So the Sky brought in on a kind of rest of the season contract guard Sevgi Uzun. So Sevgi spent time prior to this season with the Dallas Wings as a piece of that guard group over there, and then was traded to the Phoenix Mercury in a deal that also brought Satu Sabally to the Mercury too. So a player that spent some time with the Phoenix Mercury earlier this year, went through training camp, made the final roster for the team, ultimately left stateside to go play for her native team. And did not ultimately come back to the team. Had some injuries that she kind of dealt with early on, particularly a broken nose or a nose injury. I'll dub it as nose injury that induced her to have to wear the mask. Tough, gritty, high IQ, understands how to run an offense from the helm at the point guard position, understands how to play with activity at the point of attack defensively. She will gamble at times. Sometimes that will yield positive results. Sometimes that'll yield needing some help on the back end to kind of make up for sometimes inopportune timing with that. But generally speaking, a very steady hand, should be healthy in every game that she is to be playing for the Chicago Sky team. And is also a player that understands how to feed the ball into the post and also pass out of pick and roll. So things that the Sky have been missing, she just gives them a layer of that hopefully can go in tandem with everything that Rachel Banham has established and everything that Ariel Atkins has been in terms of being at the helm of offense. So any quick thoughts for you on Sevgi before we transition to Camila Cardoso?
Well, you remember on Twitter, like I basically did a high level review on her, and I was like, I got to plug in my boy Steven. I was like, because obviously covering the Mercury. But the thing that I think for Rachel and Ariel, I think this signing is really key for them because, Steven, as you know, there's so many players on this team that are playing out of their roles. And Coach Marsh talked to me about that directly after the game on Sunday. And he basically talked about all the various things that he's having Rachel do and how she basically has answered the bell every single time. And his exact words on that situation was basically like, she's been invaluable to this team. But she's not the only player. Look at someone like Kia Nurse, who I told people in the beginning of the season, I said, Kia Nurse is a really good acquisition for this team. However, if you look at the positions that she's been thrust into, it's not her game, right? So I think this signing helps probably put people back in their rightful places. And I think that you'll see probably what Tyler Marshall's offense really can do. I think you'll see that if you have a point guard that will be able to be healthy, right? Because we know availability, that's the main name of the game here, right? Somebody that you can depend on to be out there on the floor and to initiate offense. So I think this signing, great job by Jeff. I know people don't come at me on Twitter for saying that, but I thought it was a good move for him.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you heavily on a whole lot of that you mentioned. We'll get to the Jeff portion of things a little bit later in the episode, but generally speaking, yes, Jeff has done as good of a job as I feel like the situation that he's in has allowed for him to. And we'll touch on more of that going forward. But we'll kind of get some quick thoughts on Camila, get into a quick kind of halfway point break and get an ad read in, and then we'll get back to Camila and then finish off with looking at who's to blame in all of why the team hasn't succeeded to the extent that maybe expectations suggested that they will. So, Steven, if we could go ahead and get the Camila Cardoso graphic up real quick. Before we kind of touch on Camila, we want to look at her numbers in her rookie season on the left versus her sophomore season on the right of the screen. So 9.8 points per game in her rookie campaign, 52% from two, 11.9 offensive rebound percentage, meaning she grabbed 11.9% of the Sky misses available when she was on the floor. 21.5 defensive rebound percentage, 10.3% assist percentage, 2.6 in terms of free throw attempts per game on average, 16.4 in terms of her usage, and a 4.6 block rate. So those numbers in a rookie campaign, especially for someone that was coming back from injury early on, solid. Go to her sophomore campaign on the right side in that column. Obviously, as you see, 12.5 points that she's averaging right now, 51.6% from two. Offensive rebound percentage of 13.6, defensive rebounding percentage of 22.5, assist percentage of 13.0. She gets to the free throw line 3.3 times per game. That's gone up. The usage rate is significantly up from a rookie campaign at 23.9, and the block rate is 2.8. So, Brian, when you see those numbers from Camila, and then, like I said, we'll get into a quick ad break after that. What do you kind of think in kind of like a one or two sentence fashion and kind of assessing her season so far?
Man, so the thing for me with Camilla is, dude, she is, man, so much talent. Uh, the potential of her is just off the charts, right? 6'7", right? You can't teach that, right? The biggest thing for me with Camilla, and anyone that you talk to in this space will tell you, it's just been her consistency. When I look at those numbers from her her rookie year, I'm not surprised by the numbers for the first year because she was battling through injuries, as you mentioned, and it was a new system and all those various things that she had to deal with. The second season, though, you see with Tyler Marsh what he's trying to do. He wants to initiate the offense and wants to run the offense through Camilla. But one of the things that we've talked about just in the last segment was point guard play. And there's a lot of times where Camilla just simply they're not finding her. She's open. She have a steal going. And my biggest thing is I feel like with the new acquisition that's coming in the point guard, I think you'll probably be able to see more successful post touches for Camila Cardoso because, do you know her statistics inside? She shoots within what, 8 to 10 feet of the rim. Well, she's money, like 55, 60% on the season that she's shooting there. So my biggest thing when I look at Camilla is she is that hub. And I really wish that we could get some point guard play to her that can really maximize what she does best. Because when she's going, the Chicago Sky are going. Because that opens up everything for those shooters. Rachel, Kia, Rebecca Allen. Like, dude, she basically, to me, is just as important to the mix as Angel Reese.
I mean, the way that they invested in her in terms of the draft suggests that she certainly is. I think it gets lost in the plot at times with the team, but we're gonna dive a little bit more into Camilla after this quick ad break. So bear with us, and we'll kind of dive into that and get right back to you on it. All right, I am here as always, like we mentioned with our presenting sponsor with Sunnyside. So, what is Sunnyside? Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. What are some of the products what are some of the features that make the Sunnyside products so great and the products so awesome? It's your one-stop shop for all things cannabis. Sunnyside has expertly curated menus with over 100 strains to choose from, plus easy online order and in-store pickup options as well. So either way you want to get it done, they have it for you. Sunnyside is Illinois' favorite dispensary with locations all over the city, including in Wrigleyville and in River North, as well as going all the way to the suburbs, even as far south as Champaign, plus more. If you're starting out, Sunnyside has expert guidance and brands that we know you'll love, like Good News as well as Mindy's. And then one last quick one on Sundays is for existing users. If you want to tap in now, you want to use the promo code CHGO50, CHGO50 for 50% off of one Cresco Labs brand item. So you want to take advantage of that opportunity while it still exists for you. And as long as I'm reading it for you, you probably could have got it done already if you've been kind of tapped in with us for the last handful of weeks. So make sure you take advantage of that if that is something that you like to indulge in. But Brian, I'm also here to talk to the people about Cash App. So I know there's a lot of different methods and ways in which people go about doing so, but no one's better than Cash App. Cash App is safe, it's easy, it's a fast way to send, receive, and transfer money. One of the best things about Cash App, the instant setup process. How easy is it for someone to get started? Literally, all you have to do is enter your phone number or your email. You don't have to enter any bank account information. There's also no waiting. You need your money to show up right away for you. You don't have to wait for days. You don't have to wait for weeks. You don't even have to wait for hours. It gets to you almost instantly. It's your money, and you shouldn't have to wait for it in any capacity. I've told the people over the last couple of weeks, Brian, I think you know about it too. I was the captain of a flag football team while I was in Chicago. One that won at some kind of high levels as well. But you don't get to winning at those high levels if you're not organized. And with organization, with your leadership, you also have to be able to get your dues in time so that your team can ultimately compete. Now, we know that everybody doesn't always get their money in on time in respective to deadlines that are given. What Cash App allows for, room for error. With other methods, you might not necessarily be able to navigate it as comfortably because you get to these deadlines. Some people like to wait to the last minute. If you got to wait, that's not going to work in your favor. But because I oftentimes worked with Cash App, I actually always worked with Cash App, if I'm being honest, Never really ran into those issues in any capacity. So I want to make sure that people understand just how important it is and just how unique it is to get your money in at an instant in the ways that Cash App can provide it for you. They're secure and safe. Cash App always has your back. And if you are about to send money to a sketchy account or some type of scam related thing, they'll make sure that you're aware of that before you do actually send. That way you feel more relaxed about how you go about going with your transactions. You can also go with customized payments and things like that allow for you to just make it more of a personable experience. The interface of Cash App is unique from any other platform, and it's just very, very cool to kind of see the way that it's evolved over these years. So for a limited time only, new Cash App users can use our exclusive code to kind of get some additional cash earnings. Just download the Cash App and sign up, and then you want to make sure you use our exclusive referral code of CHGO SKY. That's CHGO SKY. Make sure you enter that in your profile. Send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you'll get $10 dropped right into your account shortly thereafter. Terms and conditions apply, but that's money, and that's Cash App. All right, Brian. Appreciate you kind of bearing with me through that as we kind of bring the conversation back to Kamilla Cardoso. I'll pitch it to you to kind of finish things off, and then I'll kind of rattle off some things that I have in my notes, and then we'll kind of transition from there. So if you had a grade that you would give Kamilla in her sophomore season, respective to what we saw from her in her rookie campaign, what would you give her?
I'd give her probably a B minus. But I'm also going to incorporate her play from AmeriCup in the equation as well. And I know you were tapped in what she was doing over there. And even her play leaving to go to AmeriCup, I thought that Kamilla was playing some of her best basketball of the season, right? That 27-point game, that stretch right there, that's when I really got excited about this team because we saw the full potential of what they could do. But the thing is that there's been a lot of things that have kind of gone against her, and I don't think necessarily all of them have been related directly to her, and I don't think it's fair to just put everything on Kamilla. So I would give her a B minus, but I would just say honestly, and you probably feel the same way, she's the hub of what they want to do offensively, right? And I love the facilitation that is starting to develop between her and Angel Reese. Those post feeds, bro, whichever way they go, this is nasty. And my thing is, the more we see it, the better this team will go. But I give her a B. I think for me, when it comes to Kamilla, I've really liked this. I've seen some of that edge coming out of her lately. I've seen that defensively, man, she's like locking down. She's hustling. You see her, she's going to the ground now to get loose balls. So my biggest thing is I'm seeing her kind of turn that corner a little bit. And that's the thing. That's what comes with development. Coach Paris and the work that she's done with Kamilla, you're starting to see it pay off. And that's the thing that people don't talk about. The things that people focus on with Kamilla, they don't look at the things that in her first year that she isn't doing now. Like there were times in her rookie year where that first initial post move, if it wasn't there, she would try to back down. It wasn't there, she's throwing the ball back out. This year, you see what she's doing, that counter move where she's going up and under and she's getting that thing off the glass, right? And those are things that the guards, like Rachel talked about that specifically with her, just her having that confidence and knowing, hey, go at them. Angel Reese as well said, she told Kamilla, look at these post players as food. Go through them, go at them, right? And that's, you see that confidence, I think, that we're seeing is kind of starting to kind of come through a bit for Kamilla.
Yeah, for sure. I want you to touch a little bit more on the post play because that part is very important to everything that she is on offense. I feel like the game is slowing down for her, but I feel like you have a little bit more to say about her in the post. So go ahead and touch on it, man. Go crazy.
Yeah, so just when it comes to that part of her game, you have to think about it, right? And I said it earlier, 6'7". How many people in this league have that type of height, right? Not many.
Can't teach it, like you said.
Man, you can't teach that, right? And my thing is, when you have a player like that at your disposal, you got to go through that person. And to my point is, when it comes to the post game of Kamilla in AmeriCup, this is the thing that I really saw, that I really loved about how I think that's going to help her with the second half of the season. She was getting a lot of double teams over there, which she's no stranger to seeing that over here in the W. But what was she doing in those double teams? And the one thing that I noticed in those double teams that she was doing, and I want to see her do a little bit more at this level, she was kicking that thing back out, right? Now, she's a very underrated passer. We've seen that to a degree here in the W side of things, But in America, man, she was kicking that ball out, and it was just opening up so many open threes for that team. And that's the thing right here on this team where Jeff brought in all these shooters. And you got somebody like Rachel Banham, man, if you give her like just a little bit of a window, it's going up, and that thing more than likely is going in, right? So that floor can be spread wide open for this team. And so I think the biggest thing there is just like I said earlier, what Angel said to Camilla, it's just her having that confidence and knowing, hey, there's not too many people that could do what I could do, and there's not too many people that can mess with me. Even in the game against the Fever, she was going up against Aaliyah Boston for the first time that I've seen since she's been in the league, and she wasn't being deferential or nothing, but she was going right at her. That's the Camilla that we know and love in the Chicago Sky team and roster.
Well said, man. Well said. I think if we're talking about Tyler and his assessments and how he's looking to get more usage in terms of versatility out of her on the offensive end, we talked about prior to the ad break, we talked about the uptick in usage. Tyler mentioned, I think it was maybe after the Indiana Fever game, gone are the days where you're only throwing a ball to Camilla in the post, because her talent suggests that she has so much more than just that to her game. She's not a player that's necessarily going to bring the ball up the court and ever be like initiating an offense or starting an advantage from the perimeter. But she's an athlete that has skill. And to that point, we've seen them sprinkle in some inverted pick and rolls where the smalls are setting the screen for her, sometimes around the paint area of the floor, and she's dribbling off of those and trying to find an opportunity to drive, attack that smaller guard, and at least get a deeper touch in the paint to where she can finish over the top of them, if not draw a foul and score. Also, that very first game against the Indiana Fever, what did we see, Brian? It was a dribble handoff for Camila Cardoso. Comes up, first play of the game, she comes up from the corner, no different than someone like Ariel Atkins or Rachel Banham would. Instead of her doing the dribble handoff for them, setting the handoff for them, they're setting the handoff for her. So she's using that screen, flowing into a handoff from, I believe it was Rachel Banham. She turns the corner, get into a reverse pivot, and then she finishes over the top of Aaliyah Boston to kind of set the tone for that game. Those are bookmark moments for Camilla, because that's not something that all centers are doing. That's something that we've kind of lauded Angel Reese for doing over the last handful of months as her skill development has continued to come to the forefront. Camilla's not doing it in the same way as Angel, because they're not the same type of player, but she's still bringing that unique evolution of a post player to this Sky team, and I think they're starting to lay a foundation for something that's going to be great for them to build off of. I do think that she's leaving a little bit more to be desired on the post up front, and I say that understanding that, for one, some of that is significantly involved with how she's getting the ball, meaning who's getting the ball to her, what's the timing of that. Are they getting it to her when she has 2 feet in the paint, or is that pass late and now she's kind of getting pushed off of her initial spot, so now she has 1 foot or both feet outside of the paint? And it makes it just that much harder for a post player to score when that advantage in positioning isn't what it initially was, because the timing of the pass isn't on time and on schedule. I think that's something that Sevgi Uzun is going to certainly help with. I think that just generally, as the context around her and Angel improves, they'll get more easy touches where they can do more when the advantage is at its peak versus when it kind of gets neutralized some. But there's only 7 players in the W this season with over 100 post-ups. Camilla is obviously one of those 7. She has 127 of those, 98 direct post-ups. But generally on her post-ups, the direct post-up, she's only at a 0.845 points per possession mark, or points per direct touch mark. That's the lowest of that top 7. You want to see those touches be a whole lot more fruitful for the Chicago Sky offense, because like you said multiple times, like I've mentioned before, can't teach that 6'7" frame. That's not something that you can game plan for if you don't have the facilities to put someone of the similar size against her. That's always a point of dictation for the Sky offense if they feature it that way. And that's a part that they're continuing to grow and evolve through. I think that as Jeff and Tyler are allowed grace and allowed to continue to kind of evolve the roster, and her skill development continues to evolve as well, we'll see her be better. But as far as the things in her control, I love the patience that she showed this season. The other side of that, though, I want to see her do the work early in terms of getting that post positioning, but also be better with the spot on the floor that she's posting up. So think about if you're watching Camilla post up going forward, pay close attention to the angle that she's posted up at. Is she more flat to the backboard, or is she at an angle that kind of gives her some optionality where she can go to the top side, or she can spin baseline and not be pinned under the backboard? Just little things like that I feel like once her spatial awareness on that front continues to evolve and she just matures in her game generally, she's going to be a piece that's hard to guard and nearly impossible to guard without a double team, which naturally plays into the passing ability that she's already shown, both in the America Cup, over in China in the past 2 off seasons now, as well as in her rookie and sophomore campaign when those double teams have come. So all in all, I would give Camila Cardoso, I would give her probably a B- as well. I'm very aware of the context and the context not being the best for her. The spacing has improved, but the playmaking in terms of the passing into the post outside of Angel has left more to be desired. Some of that comes because of Courtney Vandersloot not being available, but just generally speaking, if that part of the process improves, I think she'll be better.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the best is yet to come, as everybody knows.
Yeah, for sure. All right, B, we've done a good job being efficient with our timing. We got about 10 minutes that we can rock with. So let's go ahead and get into this final topic, final subject. I'll go ahead and kick it to you for this first because I've done a little bit of talking. What have been kind of your general thoughts on, I guess, everything stemming from the end of that 2023 season where we were all kind of anticipating them building around Kahleah Copper for a second season, having a little bit more time and understanding of the books in terms of the salary cap they were working up with, and kind of having some expectation for them to bring in some other all-star level talents. Though they did so, it came at the expense of Kahleah Copper instead of it being players that come in and play with her. So just generally speaking, what are your thoughts about how things have kind of gone forward for them since then?
Man, this is something I've even written about. It's crazy, right? Because during that time, I mean, we went from being a team that was actually I think, borderline championship contender team to, let's just call it what it is. We've turned into a bit of a rebuilding situation here. And I think the biggest thing here is you got to look at all the player departures that have happened over the course of that time. A lot of people, they'll point to coaching changes and they'll point to the front office. But Kahleah Copper, man, like that was a piece that Teaspoon thought that they were going to have at their disposal. Jeff thought that he was going to have Kahleah Copper on this roster. And basically she was there when Teaspoon was introduced as coach. So it caught you, it caught me, it caught a lot of us off guard when the trade request came through. Now, were we surprised? No. I mean, because most of us that were tapped in with Kyle, we knew what it was. However, for the organization, Stephen, that to me was kind of like the beginning of like, oh, you know what's getting ready to happen around here. The free agency before that, you saw what happened where we lost a lot of key people. And those people that we lost, they weren't minor pieces to the table. Look at what Z is doing right now with the Sparks. And that is not a surprise to any of us. She was always a hooper. And I really love now that her game is to the point now where people are talking about it. But James Wade at the time, I still thought even with all the pieces that he lost, right? When he lost Sloot, right? When he lost Alon, he lost all these key people. I still thought he did probably one of his best coaching jobs in Chicago in the first stretch of that season. And anybody that doesn't think that I'm, right about that, pull back the tape on it because they were out there playing some ball. What ended up happening at that time were injuries. Beck Gardner went out. The wheels fell off of things over there, and it fell off very quickly. So I'm going to wrap it up, and I'm going to get to the point of what I'm saying, but I want to just give a little backstory on just some of the things that I thought need to be properly covered in there, is that it's really easy for us to just paint the picture and just say, oh, it's this coach and this coach and this coach. You got to look at the situation that these coaches are inheriting. And I thought the teaspoon was not given a fair shake. And I also think that it's trending the same way for Tyler Marsh. We have to look at this situation for what it is. And that poll that came out, right? Those players spoke. And the players aren't the only people that feel that way about the organization. There's a lot of people that have their thoughts about the way things are run. And my thing is attitude reflects leadership at all points when you look at it. It doesn't matter whether it's sports. It doesn't matter if it's corporate. that stuff matters. And when you have a star player in Angel Reese, who in Minneapolis, Stephen, said to me directly, I asked what was her biggest piece of advice that she got during All-Star Weekend. Angel couldn't wait to let this clip go. And she said specifically, these other players, they talk about the things that they have internally, resources, facilities. She's like, I bring these things back to the sky. Because she said, I don't complain about a lot, but I know these things matter to these people. And she said, we have a big free agency coming up, and we need to have these things in place. So where I'm really getting back to when I'm saying this piece, Stephen, is this team is not set up for these big free agency runs, right? These free agents, they don't even look this way. Chicago's a major market, but yet we still have a front office and a leadership structure here that has not adapted to the changes within the league. You cover Phoenix out there. When I covered the game in Phoenix, when you spoke early in the season, I was blown away by what I saw. It was amazing. And I'm sitting here and I think about, I'm about to cover practice here in about an hour and what I'm getting ready to go walk into. And that's not even me throwing shade. It's just me looking around the league and seeing these other franchises and these other leadership structures investing into their team and pouring into your team. That stuff matters. So what I see, man, is a big product of this is Candace Parker built this team out. And she wasn't the only piece, but that was a big reason why they won. But then when you lose all these key pieces and then you don't reinforce it, you don't bring people in, and then you bring in the two center blocks and the two franchise cornerstones and the Angel Reese and the Camila Cardoso, and you don't put the proper structure around them and the proper resources around them. Angel Reese is warning you all, front office. Take heed on those words. Because that's somebody that wants to be here. She is an absolute dog. That is a culture changer that you have on that roster right now. Do everything in your power. If she's telling you all we need XYZ, go get her that. Because there's no coincidence, Stephen, that we went from being what we were to what we are now. It's not an accident.
No.
And look at this season. Look at this season.
Yep. Yeah, that's the separator right now. How we got to so I think it's important always to contextualize things. It's one thing to say, oh man, the Sky had been as good as they were in the 2023 season, 2022 and 2021, obviously being the top of the top. But what is the difference in that? Why? Start with the transition from the 2022 season. And it's unfortunate how that season ended because we were both there for that pivotal game 5 against Connecticut. We're all anticipating after a crazy third quarter where Candace did her thing, Courtney did her thing. Everything hit the fan in that fourth quarter and everything shifted in favor of the Connecticut Sun. Sometimes the timing of things, the universe be speaking to us. And it feels like the universe was speaking to us in a grand fashion in that moment. Because that was an anomaly of a performance in that fourth quarter. Courtney Vandersloot, one of the most sure-handed guards of all time, multiple turnovers, kind of inexplicably. Timing of that and everything that it entailed going forward feels like it was a blessing that 2021 season even happened to begin with. Practicing in a community center, have your players have lockers that are shared with public access. If you're talking about trying to contend and compete with the best of the best, and you're at a disadvantage off of facilities alone, that's a near insurmountable type of leverage that you're working up against. So again, contextualize that because that's nothing new. They were working up against those same adversities in the 2021 season. That speaks a lot to the whole James Wade regime and everything that they were able to overcome in that and be successful in terms of winning percentage and winning on a playoff stage. Bring it to the 2023 point. You naturally succumb, or 2022 rather, you're succumb to that. Allie Quigley decides not to come back. Courtney Vandersloot takes her talents elsewhere. Azurá Stevens gone elsewhere. A lot of these key pieces, Candace Parker, as much as anybody else, decides to go elsewhere. Emma Mieseman does not come back. All of these things happen one by one, domino after domino, because You have not handled your business on the business side of things. Talking is really cool. It's awesome. It's great. Been talking for 4 years now. It's been 4 years that this talking has been happening. And we've barely started to see walls be put up for an extension to a facility. Not outright your own, an extension to a facility. At some point, it's got to click that things have to change. There has to be a certain urgency put in place. You brought up Phoenix, so I'll bring it back up too. Matt Ishbia comes into ownership a couple of years ago. One of the first things that he wants to do is establish having a practice facility built for the Phoenix Mercury. They tell him it's going to be a 2-year plan. He tells them that's not going to be good enough. Ups the dollar, they up their efforts, and they get the practice facility built a little bit over a year after he comes into ownership. And that ultimately is debuted at All-Star Weekend of last year. And that ultimately is showcasing everything, not just to Team USA, because that's the facilities that they're practicing in, but it's also showcasing to the league and telling them that the Mercury are serious about investing in the women. And that naturally leads to them not even a full season after having the facilities open. Now, all of a sudden, you have a roster that you're working with around Kahleah Copper after Diana Taurasi and Brittany Griner have continued on with their basketball careers. You're facilitating a roster around Kahleah Copper with Alyssa Thomas and Satu Sabli, which also ultimately ends up bringing you DeWanna Bonner and Sammy Wickham. You don't get to those steps. You don't reap those types of benefits by talking a good game. It's about that action. And I feel like if anything is to be taken away from all of these CBA conversations and everything that the players have made us privy to in terms of the media, is that if they don't think that they have leverage, they got another thing coming for them. I got to kind of wrap it up because we're on a little bit of a time constraint today, but do you have any closing thoughts on everything that we kind of spoke to, Brian?
Man, I feel like we need a part 2 because I feel like we hit up with a lot.
For sure.
No, I think my biggest thing is I just agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that talk is cheap, right? In any aspect of anything. And what we've heard a lot from the front office and the leadership structure is what they're going to do. And it's about time we actually do those things.
Mm-hmm.
Because the talk is probably why Kyle was like, I'm good. And the talk is probably going to be what's going to make your franchise cornerstones start looking around left or right.
Yep.
So, I mean, they got 2 years, man. They got to get this thing right. And I'm sorry, when I saw that picture that went up about that training facility, bro, man, my eye went to this. I was like, what are we doing here? We were told 2025, Steven. 2025.
What year is it now?
Man, 2025.
I'm just saying, like you said, talk is cheap. It's got to be followed up with actions. It's got to be exceeded by actions for it to be believed. To that point, Kahleah Copper, highly hailed amongst all of Skytown royalty, honestly. 2021 Finals MVP. Very much a gritty, synonymous characteristic traits to everything that Chicago is. First thing she mentions is that she was happy when she got to Phoenix that she didn't have to bring lunch to practice because they had that taken care of for her. Candace Parker, immediately following her time spent with the Chicago Sky, is crying on her first day walking into the Las Vegas Aces practice facilities because that's the first time she's ever had her name plated over a locker. In her all-time great career, an all-time great career, at some point, some accountability has got to be taken. And I'll kind of close with this graphic we got, Steven. We can go ahead and flash this up real quick. This is from The Athletic. They did some rankings on things across the entire W, from players and future talents to facilities to front offices and how those front offices have performed over the last handful of years. Look at this graphic we got up right now from The Athletic again. Where do you see the Chicago Sky? Coming in at number 9 in terms of facilities and amenities. I feel like 9 is high. I feel like that's very generous, but I also can't speak on it accurately because I haven't been to either of those 4 facilities that are below them. But looking at the notes,
I was going to say, I think your first inclination is correct because I just left Washington and I was kind of, when I saw this result, I was like, I don't know about this one. I think we should be a little lower. Because Washington got this set up. Yeah,
for sure. And honestly, on all accounts that I've heard from Alyssa Thomas speaking to this when she was in Connecticut to even her time since then and speaking about how different it's been with Phoenix, it seems like the facilities of the Sky are very much akin to everything that's going on in Connecticut, which Connecticut is ranked last there. Practicing at a recreation center for a professional team, there are collegiate teams that travel better and practice in facilities that are significantly better than those latter 5 teams in the W. We've heard from every player. We want to see you invest in your players. It can't be taking a step back from what you were at on the collegiate level going into the W. That just makes no sense. Last thing I'll end it all with: the Chicago Sky also finished dead last in terms of how their front office has performed. That's from contracts and negotiations to how they've gone about facilitating rosters and everywhere in between there. Jeff Pagliocca cannot do his job to the best of his abilities if he's working up against these 2 types of adversities. Because once you get to the talking table, like they were with multiple players, as reported by Andy Constable over the last couple of years, they might just laugh at you. Not you directly being Jeff, but the franchise, because you're getting offers from these other teams, and this is all that you're working with. I can just take my talents elsewhere, be better treated, feel significantly better invested in, not by words, but by actions, and naturally maybe extend moments of your career and have you performing at your best. All right, man. That's all we got for them on today's episode. We done went a couple minutes over. Producer Steven Nicholas got to get on with his production schedules for today, so I don't want to hold him too much longer, but we appreciate all of y'all tapping in. As you see on the banner below my face and below Brian's face, you want to make sure you go to Twitter and follow Brian at Chicago State of Mind. That's CHI State of Mind with the underscore at the end. Like I said, you've probably been engaging with his content over the last couple of years indirectly if you aren't aware of who he is. We'll definitely have him back on to talk more about this very topic and potentially others going forward when our schedules align on that. But I promise you we'll get him back on before the end of the season. Brian, anything you want to kind of give the people a hint at, or any advice or words of remark you want to give before we get out?
I think my biggest thing is I kind of like mentioned it early on, the patience piece. I think we kind of tied everything pretty well. I think the biggest thing here is we have to understand the situation that Tyler Marsh inherited here, but also just appreciate that. I think that the best is yet to come. I'm very optimistic by some of the signs that I've seen from the team. And Stevie, you know, I'm at the practice, I'm at the shoot-arounds. Mm-hmm. I see how these players are interacting. The energy is there, the vibe is there. We'll see what they'll do going forward. But I do think that, like, you have a lot of people that are on that team and that coaching staff, they care. They don't want to be 7-19, just as much as the fan base doesn't want them to be 7-19. You got a lot of proud people in that organization for the most part. I just think that the fan base, just give them a little bit more patience. Skytown, we know that y'all are a very passionate fan base. I see the tweets, I see the mentions, but we get it, but just a little bit more patience. I know that's asking for a lot. Our Chicago teams are always asking y'all to be patient, but I'm telling you, I think the best is yet to come.
Yeah, I think as far as futures, the Sky have the best prospects on that front. But piggybacking off his patience point, Jeff can't be his best self if he's working up against these adversities of a front office as well as facilities in terms of negotiations. And if Jeff can't be his best self in facilitating the best roster for Tyler to then coach based off of the style of play he wants to play, that means that Tyler can't be his best self. And if Tyler can't be his best self, even as great as Angela's been through her first 2 seasons, she can't be her best self because they can't put the best roster around her. There's domino effect there. So the patience point is important, but accountability for the front office trumps everything. At some point, y'all got to start being held to the fire. Y'all can't be regurgitating the same answers to media members whenever they ask about these questions that you all have been basically copying and pasting for the last 4 years. Not going to get it done. All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all for tapping in for this episode. Like I said, we'll have more for you all going forward. Follow Brian on Shy State of Mind _ at the end of that on Twitter. You can also find him on YouTube as well. Make sure you follow my show, CHGO _ Sky on Twitter as well for updates on games and at practice and things like that. You also want to make sure you follow my personal account too on Twitter, Steven PG3. Again, thank you to producer Steven Nicholas for producing this for us again, kind of tapping in with us early. We appreciate y'all. Talk to y'all again soon.
We all silly like the mayor. We all silly like the mayor.